Hey guys, how are you? Doing some last minute changes on these. I got them sold to another guy that has like a smaller, I think it's only like 1,000 watts Hyphonics amp. And so I'm going to go ahead and put the regular 5 series cone as the big surround on it, because I don't think he's putting them underneath the truck seat or anything like that. So, but that's what's great about doing a lot of prep. A lot of times I'll prep a subwoofer to this point and then wait for a buyer, depending on what cone they want, because pretty much this down is like has to be there, and then the rest of it, like the cone and the cap, that's, you know, options up to them. Sorry if the fans are noisy, it's just fucking hot. It's 115 yesterday. So somebody was asking about former extensions. So this is what I do. Sometimes I save the trimmings from the tops of the formers. You can save them in pieces like that. Like you can trim them, you know, to be what you want. Sometimes you can keep them whole. You know, it depends on how you want to do it. But the idea here is to, I don't know if I can do this with 2 hands. Let me do it with my teeth. There we go. I had rubber bands on there too, but those came off. The rubber bands were just meant to hold it in place for a second, and then that way I could get the string tape. The string tape is very tough. I highly recommend it for anyone sending motors or subwoofers through shipping. You do it all 3 axis points, left, up, down, and then the other ring. Anyways, that's how you do a former. What I did was I prepped the other side of this. I kept this capped on tape on here so that this is really good for the epoxy to grip onto for the spider. This one is going into Jeremy's at EBCO amps. He wanted a 3K woofer that is 2 ohm final load, and this is the Adair half pound fucking 8 ounce copper 8-layer coil. And so we're gonna do this in parallel to get a 2 ohm load, and then I'm going to put it on the TI frame. And of course the TI frame requires a little bit more height, and so this is going to give me that height. But that's basically how you extend a former, is just epoxy it to, don't use like CA. CA is not strong enough. Use like real epoxy. You can use JB Weld or even the 5-minute epoxy. I always recommend a slower cure epoxy just because I'm not in any hurry, and sometimes depending on how old the 5-minute epoxy is, or even how warm it is, it can make it cure even faster, and then you're like right in the middle of fucking setting it and you had some issues. So even I had some issues on this one yesterday. So the rubber bands are good for just like initial hold, but then I was able to get the tape on there and get a really nice tight fit. So you want it as tight as you can, but then see, you can even see from the gap that it couldn't stay together or stay linear. So it's got a little bit of a gap, but it should be okay. Really, you don't want any overlap. You want to try to avoid it, even though there's 2 issues. Number one is you end up with a seam, which gives you like a little bump out, and so then when the spider sits on it, it can tweak it. The other issue is that whenever this creates a short, that's a brake, B-R-A-K-E, like like your car brakes on your your car, when you want to slow down. It creates an electrical magnetic short, and so what happens is when it reaches the gap, it stops. Like just like when you short the 2 wires on there and then set it in a gap and it goes down real slow, that's what it does. So not that this part would go that far down into the gap. If it does, then the person's obviously abusing it. But it's just a thing to keep an eye on. That's all, and you just want to be aware of it. So, but. So I woke up this morning with a pit in my stomach. I felt like I did not get treated fairly, or at least I didn't get to say what I wanted to say and defend myself in court the other day. But nobody asked me what my side of the story was, and so I just feel like I was wronged. And what's funny is I actually felt bad for Steve and Reggie, because even if they win, like they found some sort of whatever, some, like it's like when you're in the Air Force and they break something, and like my wife and I, they broke a couch of ours, and they were asking, pick something out of this catalog which will replace that. And the problem is the couch was like, had been recovered like twice. And so, you know, her parents, they gave it to us, you know, they spent like $1,400 on there. And so like the only thing that was comparable was like a Italian leather sofa. So we go this one. And so what's funny though is they were asking Ray Jean on the stand, you know, what would be the equivalent. Of course, they go on eBay, and then, you know, like, I'm gonna fucking ship a door to them, and, you know, it costs $3,600. I'm like, you guys got it for free out of a buyout or whatever. And I went down to Stardust, which is a building construction, basically like a thrift store, but for construction stuff, like, you know, kitchen cabinets and doors and things like that. And they wouldn't even let me buy one door because I only broke one door. So they made me buy 2 doors, which was for $20. So I got 2 doors for $20 that'll replace the door that I broke. But I just thought it was just absolutely ridiculous the way that the prosecutor took advantage of me and was like, I don't know, like, just like working really hard for these 2 garbage people. It was insane. But the other thing that I felt bad for them was that even if they win, they won by lying. She lied on the stand, but there's nothing I could do about it. And so, you know, you always want to give people more rope than they need so that they can hang themselves. And so even if I got to, you know, pay $10 a month for whatever, the fucking rest of my life or whatever it is, she only won by lying. She only won by cheating. And so it's like, what did you really win? So, and what I realized was that somebody like that is, I'm very repelled by, because my sister was this way, my older sister, actually both sisters, but somebody like that, I love the James Bond titles. One of them is called The World Is Not Enough. And really, nothing in the world could satisfy someone like that. It doesn't have to be a guy or a girl or whatever, but just somebody that has that much self-pity and that much, whatever, low self-esteem and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter what you give them, it's not enough. And so I felt, you know, and Steve seems like he's a good guy, but the problem is he's an enabler. And I think he was in a bad relationship where he was kind of a slack. And so now he's trying to compensate by giving her everything that she wants. And so, you know, and she's very demanding. She wants a lot of stuff, and she doesn't have integrity. One of the reasons why I asked them to leave was, like, one of the jobs I gave her was cleaning, you know, dusty gaskets for the subwoofers right here. And I went through one of the boxes that she did, and all she did was clean like 4 of them, and then the rest of them she just put in there, and she's like, done. And which was dumb, because I was compensating them by the hour. So it's like, you know, where have you got to go? What have you got to do? So, but, you know, that's the kind of person she is. And it's ironic that, you know, even if she wins, like, you know, it's like Bonnie and Clyde. They're just off to the next, you know, sucker or, you know, gig or whatever, somebody else to exploit or somebody else to take advantage of. And, you know, when you ask them about that, they go, well, somebody did that to me. You know, like when, you know, somebody gets molested, and, you know, then somehow they got to pass down the tradition or something to their kids or whatever, you know, like, well, I got molested, you need to get molested. And of course they don't say it like that, but they have that self-pity that just perpetuates itself, you know, if you don't do something about it, if you're not responsible and you know, stop that bad behavior. So, but I remember when I was like 16, I got my first traffic ticket, and the judge called me into his chambers, and I was able to have like not a heart-to-heart, but just be able to speak like a real person and not like a lawyer that was on the record and all that stuff. So I'm going to see if I can arrange for a meeting like that to talk with the prosecutor, because I certainly don't trust the prosecutor after she took advantage of me. But I'm not sure if I can have a conversation with the judge without her. So it's, I don't know why, but, you know, whatever. So, but yeah, you know, and just see what I can do about it. I'm not really concerned about the charges. Like, even Bill Gates got arrested for speeding, you know, so I'm not too worried about a couple of misdemeanor charges. What I am concerned about is that I'm innocent here. I did everything that I thought was within it. The only thing I did wrong was I accidentally broke one of their doors, and I'm more than willing to replace it. But, you know, they want $3,600, and then, you know, the state's probably going to want maximum fines, you know, because I was rude to the cop, or the cop felt slighted, which is completely unprofessional. But welcome to Arizona. And it was one of the things that, you know, a lot of people say they hate police or they hate politicians or they hate, you know, lawyers. And the problem is it's not lawyers or politicians or police that you hate. What you hate is the abuse. And, you know, the abuse a lot of times comes from, again, self-pity. You know, like, I grew up tough, you know, whatever. And it's like, can we just be reasonable adults and talk about something, you know? And I agree that sometimes adults cannot be reasonable, especially, you know, what I call street people, or, you know, the kind of people that police deal with every day. So I understand their point of view. However, that's no excuse for being jaded and, you know, a dick, I guess it would be a better word. But so yeah, so former extension, I wanted to tell you about that. And then this, I'll just, you can solder some wire to this to run it up to get inside the top of the spider and then to the cone. So, but that's how you extend a former, or at least that's how I do it. Yeah, I'm sure you could do it on the inside. In fact, I even tried to do it on the inside, if you can see that. It didn't work out so good because the problem is you got to have something in there that has even pressure pressing up against the walls to make sure it makes a good adhesion. And you got to remember that this thing, the worst thing that's going to happen is it's going to bottom out, but it doesn't really get stressed out too much because it's all one big moving motion thing, so it should be fine. You can, you know, like whenever I do a crimp, I do what's called the tug test. You want to just tug on it a little bit to make sure it's not going to come right off, and so right there, in case it bottoms out, you know, it didn't come off, so it's fine. But that's that. And for Jeremy, again, that's EBCO amps. He's out of Wyoming. Mail order. We're doing some trades on this one. I'm building him a badass sub, and he's fixing a couple of amps for me, so it's going to work out great. Let's see what else. Oh, the DC sub is done. So that one turned out nice. I put the inner cap on it. Come to find out, one of the reasons why it got blown up was because it made it out of the factory unmagnetized. And I've done this. It's just an oversight. Sometimes you're building a bunch of subs and you just forget one. And so I went ahead and contacted Rusty at DC and let him know. And immediately he's like, tell me the number that's inside the pole, which is like a signature for whoever made the subwoofer. And so I gave him the number, and he's like, all right, I'm going to beat some asses on Monday. I was like, okay. So, but, you know, it happened to Rusty, and, you know, he can't be there to hold everybody's dick, you know, all day long. And he even mentioned something that, you know, he would love to be able to do other stuff, but the problem is if he's not there, people don't want to work. And so it's, you know, it's hard, you know, when you have like employees, people with an employee mindset, all they do is think about hourly. But if you listen to Robert Kiyosaki, really, if you can help people become entrepreneurs, then they stop keeping track of their time and they only focus on the job. And, you know, when you finally get paid, and that's what I try to do here is, you know, people will come and work for hours, you know, for credit. And the unfortunate thing is then they cash out their hours for stuff for themselves. And then maybe they flip it. There's only been two guys that have really done well with this, which was number one, Travis Beal, who he's on Instagram. I'll share his page, so if you, whatever, he's into motorbikes and shit like that. But Travis did pretty good. And then Ben Jones. Ben ended up moving back to Indiana with his dad, I think also to avoid some drug dealers that he owed money to. But and then Ben, come to find out, he was, you know, he might have been distributing some pharmaceuticals on his off time and using some stuff as trade or whatever from me. But yeah, but both of those guys were able to be builders for me, and then also flip and you know, make some pretty good money. So that was another way to do it. But you can do that stuff from home, either from me or from, you know, yourself. Just look for dead woofers in your area. So, but I think it's been 4 weeks since Scotty paid, and I'm gonna go ahead and knock these out today. I'm gonna get those formers glued up, epoxied up today, so we can get those done and get them out of the fucking way. And then I got the adapters in for the RE motor. This is the XXX. This is the frame. They got a big old spacer in there. This frame is modular. It bolts to here. The problem was they couldn't get any good castings, and so Mark there at RE ended up casting parts. So you do the castings and then you bolt it all together. And the downside of this is that you end up with stress fractures like that. And over time, because of the vibration, it just wiggles apart. So one of the things that they tried to alleviate this problem was doing dual patterns. This inside pattern is 160 by 8, meaning it's 160 millimeter diameter by 8 holes. And so what I've done is the adapters that I usually make for these are usually aluminum, but I'm out of aluminum. And so I ended up using a steel one, which was an old top plate washer that has a 3.5 inch cutout, which I'm not going to use. So I'm like, shit, I got a ton of these. Why not use these? The only hard part is that when you're putting it on here, you got to kind of quickly put it here because then it'll magnetically be attracted to that. So you just got to watch out for that. But other than that, the steel is much, much stronger than the aluminum, which is good. But I'll still put supports underneath, either with, I use bearing spacers from skateboarding, bearing spacers, steel bearing spacers. And then these are, I think, are standard M6. And then there's some extended M6 bolts that go through to bolt in the bottom plate, which is just decorative. So, yeah, I'm building this for my buddy Jose Jalapeno. He's got a buddy that wants an 18, so I'm going to build him an 18 on that. So, but I may have to trash one of my 18-inch TI frame passive radiators because I don't have any more frames that have the bolt pattern required that's on the adapter. So we'll see what happens, but I'll figure it out. And then David, this is actually the sound cubed version, the HDC4, which is the same as the DD9900, I think. And we're going to put the copper 8-layer quad 2-ohm coils, which I got from Concept. That's the Cove, I think Cove Armageddon, and they also sold it under the Concept CSP, the copper version. And they used just a 4-spoke frame like that white one in the back. And then they used a weird adapter to make it look like it had a 10-inch suspension, but underneath it was an 8-inch suspension. So that's how you control that one. This one's actually going to have a 9 1/4 suspension, which is pretty standard. And then I think what we were going to do is, I think carbon fiber, no, I'm sorry, glass fiber laminate cone, and then a black poly cap with a DD sticker on it, because basically it's the DD. And I think I'm going to debadge the back too. So that way, if he wants to sell them as a DD, that's up to him. So, people are brand whores. What am I gonna, what am I gonna do? Fight you in a parking lot? Tell you that brand doesn't matter, and you still care about brand? Let's see what else. Oh, I got more of these done. Come to find out, I found a stash of these, so I didn't need to get them done, but they're done. I got them in the 10-inch and also in the 12-inch, creamsicle orange. Found some on the shelf over there. But I wanted to do a little shop update. I got a bunch of the 2.5 inch. I'm kind of out of coils right now, so if anybody has like tall, either 45 to 55 millimeter tall wine height coils, I got some really good motors to make for you. I can make them in a triple stack over here or a quad stack. It's basically it's for the standard 2.5 inch coil, like the Sundown SA. But I have a bunch of them over there in the background. You can see them right here, and then the shorter ones are on the shelves. I can make a bunch of those. I think I was going to make some for Mr. Garza in Colorado, so you can build those out. But got the coils done yesterday for these. Oh, I got the coils for these, so I'll be building these this weekend as well. And then what else? Oh, I got my 24-inch parts. I didn't want to do an open. I hate opening boxes for people. It's so lame. But these are the 24-inch cones. So I'm gonna try not. I don't know. I think I still should epoxy them. The last guy broke them. They cracked, and I'm like, well, not really. The sub is the cone was developed for like a home theater, and PA, like a DJ, not really car audio, where people are trying to get fucking 3-inch excursion on a Sundown team motor. But Let's see what else. I think it was just some coils that I got from Loader Base. So you know, buy them while you can. I gotta do the same thing. So there's some stuff that I don't have and I can't make anymore, and I already pissed off Precision Econowine because I dogged them for taking so fucking long, and then when I approached Poyun, Poyun, which is their China manufacturer associated with Precision Econowine, a lot of times when PE's backed up, they'll farm it out to Poyun and then they'll express them over. Even with that expense, they still make money on it because coils have a really good markup. And so, but for me, it was just easier to, I'm just patient. I just try to move something else until the production line gets on what I want, which is, whatever coil I'm needing. And then I go, okay, I'll order 50 or 100 or whatever it is. And, you get them China prices, which is much cheaper. They're more expensive, or a lot more expensive than they were pre-COVID. But, I don't want to pay American prices, especially for copper. And I don't mind, like, again, I explained in another video, it doesn't really matter about Chinese copper on a coil because the resistance still has to come out to a certain resistance in order to meet spec. And so, what are you going to do? Cut it with aluminum? Well, guess what? Some of these coils are made out of aluminum anyway, too. And again, it doesn't matter. Aluminum is not as good as copper. However, it's, it's a conductor and it has a certain resistance and it's going to create a certain, response. It's not a, it's not, what is it, rocket surgery. It's not rocket surgery. Subwoofers are not as complicated or technical as you might think. There's a lot of stuff that is very low tech and more has to do with just experience and the way that people use these things rather than science being backed up on it. You don't need some big R&D team. I've told you this before, just simply look at the way that other builders make their stuff and solve the problems that they have. So, and you can figure it out too. It's not that hard. And when you start looking at what's available on the market as far as dead woofers, you're like, wow, this is pretty easy. This is pretty rad. And then if, you can stay home and do this, why the fuck not? Why would you want to go to a job every day? They talked about like some ridiculous numbers, like 80% of all people that work want to quit their job. And I'm like, when has that not been true? Like, yeah, I want to fucking get up early, feel panicky because you don't want to be late, and then get in your piece of shit car and then commute, and compete with all the other douchebags that are also doing the same thing, which is going to a job that they fucking hate. And then you get there, and then, you got to deal with your Brendas and your Karens or your fucking Kevins or whoever you don't like, or, whatever is creepy at work or whatever it is. And then you got to try to do your fucking job. So, yeah, I gave that up a long time ago because I was like, I think I told you guys about that. The closest I got to quitting doing audio stuff was, I don't know, I guess I was just having like bad summer. And my friend Shay Conant, Jack's grandson that I told you about, the garbage magnet, he ends up working for Barrow's Pizza here locally. And so I hit him up and I said, dude, I heard you can make pretty good money delivering pizzas. And he's like, you can, but dude, it's a fucking hustle. And it was way harder than how hard I work here. And I work pretty hard here. But again, it's doing something that either you don't like or you don't want, or people just treat you like shit. And so that's why, that's really a lot of the reasons why people hate me in, audio or just in general, is because I don't put up with their fucking shit, man. Sarah McLachlan has a old song from the 90s that I absolutely love. And one of the lines in it is, everyone loves you when you're easy. Everyone hates when you're a bore. So the idea though is everyone loves you when, you're giving them free shit or discounts or all that kind of stuff. And the problem that I have is that a lot of my stuff is already discounted and it comes with a better warranty than you would from even, the top companies, JL Audio, Rockford Fosgate, Sundown, whoever. And then they still want more. And that's the problem with self-pity, is that it's a never-ending hole that just, like you just feel worthless. Like when you stick your dick in a really hot prostitute and you can't ever get to the bottom, right? That's why a lot of guys like Asian girls, because they have shallow vaginas, right? And then the reason why they have shallow vaginas is because Asian dudes have shallow penises. So, you know, it's, you know, sometimes you want that, you know, that freak, that special, you know, to make you feel like, you know, I don't know, like you've got a really big cock. And so when, you know, you're sticking your dick in some endless cavern of, you know, mayonnaise covered hallway, it's a little, you know, disappointing, you know, sad, whatever you want to call it. So it was funny. My wife and I were talking about how weird and pathetic kind of guys are with, you know, their sexual habits. You know, some guys are into feet or whatever, and me, I like boobs, you know, that's my thing. But, you know, even now I do not, like, especially if, like, if you thumb through, like, I don't watch TikTok, but, you know, you see the TikTok videos reposted through Instagram now on Reels. And it's mostly just girls and boobies and all that kind of stuff. And the problem that I have now is that I have enough experience with girls like that that I just kind of get a little sick to my stomach. I'm like, nope, too much crazy, too much, you know, self-awareness that you're hot, or you think you're hot, or, you know, whatever. And what's really great about Instagram is, like, they'll have, like, girls that are not hot, but they have that ultra confidence that sometimes guys, you know, they find that hot, you know, that a girl is really confident. I'm like, nope, you're not. So, but, yeah, just because a girl has big boobs, I kind of, you know, not that I'm trying to be cool guy or cool pimp guy or whatever, but it's, I'm like, nope, too much headache, gotta go, bye. So, I'd rather go jack off to some pretty girls on the internet. So that's what I do. But, and you can do the same with my home do-it-yourself kit. But I think that was about it. I gotta finish some of these. Somebody had asked me about the $1,500 deal. We're still doing that. It's just I have a hard time sometimes sourcing the parts that they want. I have plenty of parts, but it's not always what people want, and so that kind of makes it difficult. So, but I got 8 more motors of these to assemble and ship out, and then that guy's done, and then I got to send him some cones, some 12-inch cones, and then he's done. But basically the idea is it's $1,500 for 40 of these motors shipped, which is just a little 2-inch coil. We even found the factory shims for the voice coils. So, you know, some people like, you know, they're like, I don't want to use business cards. I'm like, I use business cards. Like, it's not a big deal. But we found the plastic shims that go on there so you can fit the voice coil perfect or whatever you want to do. And so you get some of those, and then I think we found some good voice coils for them, and you get, you know, at least 40 of those. Usually sometimes on parts I'll give you like extras. Because I want you to get started, and you're gonna fuck up a couple times. So I try to be patient with you guys, and you know, I would love to get rid of all this stuff and then, like, just move. That was the other thing we were talking about the other day was I just thought about abandoning all this stuff and just getting some low-level job in Texas for Tesla. You know, I'm a really smart person, and I think I'd really bring a lot of value to them, even just, you know, manufacturing or assembly or whatever, telecom, or, you know, I have a lot of skills. But the rent is so cheap there, then I thought, you know, I could just abandon all this and whatever. I'm just move on to the next part of my life. So, and then people were like, oh, I'll take over. And like, I'm sure you would take it over. Like, of course, if somebody gave you something like this for free, of course. So, but I'm open to suggestions if you want to start your own or do something, or even if you want to take this place over for me. The rent is $3,500 a month. And so if you can handle that kind of number and still turn out enough money, fucking come in, sublet from me. That's fine. I'm here with like no deposit, so that's on them. But they, you know, the property's worth $1 million now if next door sells for $2 million. And so $1 million property, I'm in here with no, you know, deposit. But you know, he bought it for $350,000. So I don't think it's going to bother him if it's a little beat up when I leave. So not that I would beat it up. I improved it quite a bit. But yeah, they you know, the previous owner, what's the word? Shafted me out of the equity so that I was supposed to be able to resell. But, you know, I think I told you that in another video or whatever. So, but enough about my problems. I am a white male. I am American. And even if I just stop there on all the things that I appreciate that I am, or, you know, what I have in my life, that would be enough. So I don't have to worry about stuff. shouldn't, because there are a lot of other people that are worse off than me. So I'm strong, I got a big wiener, you know, fucking life's good. So it's always a nice stroke to the ego though when, you know, you go to meet your sex worker and she's like, oh, I don't know. And I go, we can try. So, but I wanted to show you the park. It's a little drippy chippy. Gotta check. It's kind of too hot for people to be sleeping back here, but you never know. So look at that beautiful park. So technically it's a basin. It's not a park, because like if you look on the city map, it's not a park. But people still play soccer there, and for a while there, people were shooting golf balls onto my property and hurting my delicate foam roof. So, and I had to fucking call that guy's boss and turn him in. He's like, man, you're a dick. I'm like, dude, you're shooting golf balls at my fucking foam roof. It like makes a leak after that, piece of shit. Go to the fucking golfing range. So, but you know, I was talking to Larry yesterday, and you know, there's some people trampling some of his patents, and it's, you know, Larry's a really nice guy, and it just sucks, you know, when you're nice to people and they just take advantage of you, and then when you finally step up, all of a sudden you're a dick, you know, or they, you know, it's like Bill Burr was talking about how, you know, the Me Too movement is kind of coming to the end, and then they just, you know, girls start reporting bad dates, you know. And that was it. Aziz Ansari was talking about that basically you just had a bad date, but this girl like went to the press about it and made it more than it was out to be, and it was like, fuck, like, you know, again, it's very dangerous that threshold, or that well of self-pity, you know. You just jump down there and people want to rescue you and feel sorry for you, and I'm like, that's bad news, man. And what's funny is people live their whole lives like that. And you know, the best thing you can do is just, you know, look at their life and go, okay, I got to stay away. The really big downside of that is that you end up being very lonely. You know, people will say your standards are too high, and I'm like, sorry. The neck and face tattoos and the smoking of the drugs, I'm like, I think I can do better. I'm like, oh, you think you're better than me? And it's like, well, yeah, but you know, if I say yeah, then I'm a jerk, and I'm like, ugh, I'm like, I just don't want to be around that. That's all. So, not that, you know, definitely not that I'm some prissy Mormon or something like that. Like, I get annoyed with Mormons too. Like, you believe in God so much, you got to, you know, change your behavior that way. You know, I get annoyed with the Amish and also with the Islamic people too. Like, you know, you want to wear your fucking burqa, like. I'm actually used to the hijab now, which, you know, sometimes you can wear it fashionably, and a lot of girls do. But when you wear the full burqa, and, you know, it's like, okay, we get it. This is not Star Wars. You're not, you know, whatever the little ones that, I know I saw in The Mandalorian, where they steal, whatever. Anyways, fuck Star Wars. Stupid turd that gets polished over and over and over again. I love you guys. Have a fun and happy weekend. You know, stay out of trouble. Don't be like me. Don't get into trouble. Be nice and kind to everyone, and love one another, all that kind of stuff. Again, Jesus hung out with prostitutes and thugs to love them. So, not that I recommend that, but that's just what Jesus did. So, I love you, my prostitutes and thugs. Have a great weekend.